I'm Amy, thank you for tuning in. This is my September wrap-up video and it's going to be another really short one because once again I've only read 3 books. I'm not entirely sure what's happening this year, but why my reading has dipped. I'd say in the past my average has been about 6 to 8 books a month, and I really like that because I feel like I'm reading a lot of variety and being able to kind of actually get through this massive TBR room of mine. But for whatever reason this year I'm not reading as much, and I think part of it is that I've been writing and editing a lot. I've had kind of a change in job, so that's been a little bit of an adjustment, but whatever the reason, I'm not reading much and I'm kind of just trying to be at peace with it because I do feel happier, I think, when I'm reading a lot, but life obviously has different plans for me right now. So let's get to the books that I actually have read this month, and you can let me know in the comments what do you think of them. First up, I finally finished this book, which I seem to have been reading forever since it came out, certainly. Part of the reason it took so long was that I was buddy reading it and the friend I was reading with wasn't feeling it, so I put it down for a little while I was waiting for her to decide what to do, and then when I discovered that the audiobook was available, I picked it up again and started reading mostly the audiobook, but reading a little bit of the physical book as well. I read the other 2 books on audio and I really loved the narrator's voice. I thought that she captured Jay brilliantly, so I was really happy when it was put on UK Audible because it meant that I finally got to finish the series. So my thoughts, they're really hard to unpick for this because I do love these books. I think that Stephen Graham Jones has written a fantastic love letter to horror, to slashers in particular, and anybody with even a smidge of knowledge of slashers will benefit. Just because it's so rich in pop culture references, it's full of the tropes that are used in slashers, and I'm pretty familiar with slashers in general, so I really love that about it. I also think that the characters are absolutely fantastic, which is heartbreaking because you kind of fall in love with them and then some of them don't make it. So the reason I'm a bit undecided about this book, overall I would say really enjoyed / loved it. There are a couple of things, there was a couple of tropes that I'm just not personally a fan of. No reflection on the book, it's all me, that one. So that just slightly hampered my enjoyment, slight personal choice thing. Check the content warnings and use your own judgment on that one. The other thing is I do find these books quite slow paced, and generally that's not my thing. I think it works for these books and for Stephen Graham Jones's writing because he writes so descriptively, and when he gets to the horror and to the kind of gruesome scenes, his writing really packs a punch. But I think the slow points in between I sometimes find a little harder to get through, but overall it didn't affect my enjoyment of the book. So I would definitely recommend picking up this series if you're a fan of slashers. Do be mindful that there are 3 of them and they're really thick, so set aside a good chunk of time. Next, I read another Stephen Graham Jones book. I was intrigued what this one would be like because as far as I know it's a standalone, it's a little shorter than his usual books. This one is about somebody who was a slasher as a teenager, hence the title, and it's this person reflecting on their time as a slasher at this particular point in their lives. I really liked that. I thought it was an interesting take on the slasher. I don't think I've seen a slasher written in that way before. And also, without giving too much away of the plot, I really liked how you got to see how this person ended up in that situation. And again, like Stephen Graham Jones's other book that I just mentioned, it really played into the slasher tropes, explored them, turned them on their head. So if you're a big slasher fan, I'd recommend this one because it does feel like something new and fresh. Again, like Stephen Graham Jones's other books, I love the writing style. Quite descriptive, which did slow my reading down in some places. That's just my personal taste. But I thought this was really good. There's some really good kills, so this is another good one to pick up if you're wanting slasher vibes. And the final book on my list this month was Clan in the Cornfield 3, Church of Frendo. This was the Y Book Club pick for the month, and I'm so glad I read it because spoken by somebody who has written a trilogy, writing a series is really hard. I don't think this 3rd book is going to be the last book based on how it ended, but it's hard to kind of keep the reader's attention, I think, in a series by giving them something new, but also giving them more of what they want, which is kind of a contradiction. But Adam Cesare does this really well. He kind of keeps a lot of elements that I really enjoyed in the other books, but then changes them up, puts some characters in new situations, gives them new challenges, and definitely ups the horror, ups the ante in every way. Another way he reinvented things was by adding a couple of new narrators, which I think all contributed to the plot. My problem with multiple narrators is that sometimes you feel like one of them isn't needed, and like you spend the book trying to figure out when are you going to get to the next narrator that you really like. But I actually thought that all of these narrators contributed something, particularly the one who has something to do with the Church of Frendo of the title. I thought that she really added something to the plot, and I think that she will probably continue to contribute to the series overall. So I thought this was a really good addition. It is very gory, so please check the content warnings if you're at all unsure, because although this is YA, I actually found it pretty intense as far as reads go. So that's it, the 3 books I read. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of them, if you joined in with the book club, and what you think that I should read next, because I'm having a real moment for reading adult horror. I know that Cornfield was YA, but it's pretty extreme as far as YA goes. So yeah, if you can recommend any books similar to those, I'd really appreciative. As always, likes and subscribes are really appreciated as well, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!